Welcome to the Twinkle Talks EYFS podcast. Working in the early years is busy, funny, messy, and exhausting. Join me, Shána, and the rest of the Twinkle EYFS team as we talk honestly about our experiences as practitioners, teachers, and professional nappy changers. Whether you're listening to increase your CPD hours or catching up on our antics whilst driving home from work, Twinkle EYFS will share everything you need to know about all things early years.
Hello, lovely listeners. It's Shána here from Twinkle Talks EYFS, and I am so glad that you were able to join us again for yet another amazing episode in our Twinkle Talks EYFS Around the World mini-series. We've gone far and wide so far. We have gone to Australia, South Africa, Mexico, many other wonderful places. But for this episode, we're going to be a little bit closer to home. We are going to talk to the wonderful Fiona from Twinkle, Scotland. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a minute, Shána, Scotland is in the UK. We should be doing the same thing. Actually, that's not quite true. And that is why Fiona is here to tell us what it's like to be an early years practitioner in Scotland. So we're just going to get straight in. Let's go and have a chat with her. Hey Fiona, thank you so much for coming to chat with me today about what early years looks like in Scotland. Very exciting. But before we get there, please let us know. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about how you worked for Twinkle and your journey in the education world for early years in Scotland.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here. So a little bit about myself. I have been working for Twinkle since October 2021, I want to say. So for a few years now. And I came to Twinkle after working in both private nurseries and local authority nurseries. So I worked in private nurseries for 3 years, and then I moved to a school nursery and I was there for 5 years. So I did my SVQ3 in childhood practice at my private nursery, and that was like a modern apprenticeship. So I did my training on the job and then would go home and then write all my essays up, and they would mark it and come in and see me, which was lots of fun. And then when I went on to my local authority nursery, I didn't do any studying for a wee while, and then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do the degree. So I did my degree for 3 years whilst I was there, whilst I worked full time, which was lots of fun.
How did you do? How are you survive? How did you do that?
I know it was a lot.
Did you sleep?
No, not really, to be honest. But we worked, we did it, and it was a lot, and I learned so much from it, and I really enjoyed it. And then I finished that in the January. And then I thought, what am I going to do with myself now? And then in October, I came to Twinkle. So
you just love a challenge, don't you?
Definitely. So having the degree, I think, really opens my eyes into all the possibilities and how I could maybe help people further. And I thought, what better way to do that than Twinkle?
Right. So what do you do for Twinkle Scotland?
So I am the segment manager for early learning and childcare at Scotland. So I do all the social media, creative resources. I do the weekly newsletter. If you are in Scotland, you might get a newsletter from @Fiona at Twinkle, the face behind the email, and just all the run-ins of everything early learning and childcare in Scotland. So anything that you think, how did that get there?
It's you.
It's me.
Brilliant. It's so cool that. I'm just going to go and look at all the Twinkle Scotland resources and go, oh, Fiona made that. How cool is that? Like, that's so cool. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on to chat with us today. And I think it's really important to address, we're doing this mini-series about early years around the world. And our listeners might be thinking, oh, Scotland? Oh, it's just next door. It must be the same. We're on the same island. No, you would be wrong there, friends. Obviously, we are different countries within the UK, but as such, there are loads of differences. I mean, just from listening to you right now, I've heard different abbreviations like, what was it, SVQ?
Yes.
And I'm like, Scottish vocabulary. I have no idea what that is, but I know it's something to do with like, because we do NVQ.
Yes.
So it must be SVQ.
So it must be Scottish.
But Scottish. Yeah.
Cool.
I should really know what NVQ means then.
That's ridiculous that I don't even know what it means. I'm sure. I'm assuming that yours is national vacation qualification and mine's is Scottish vacation qualification. But
that's what it must be.
Wrong.
National vocational Scottish vocational. You know what? Our listeners are very good at. They will write in.
They will tell us. They were like, "Come on, guys, you should know this."
It's so funny. Thing is, there are so many abbreviations in early years. No matter where you work, there's just so many to keep on top of. It's hilarious. And also you call it early learning.
Yes.
Which is really important because when I was talking to Stacey from Australia, it was EYLF.
Yes.
And do you know what? I've already forgotten what that meant. So early learning and child care. So it's ELCC. EYFS, England, ELCC, Scotland. Am I right?
Just ELC.
Oh, darn. I was so close.
Early learning and childcare. So that kind of covers, to be honest, when you research it, it actually covers anything from 0 to 12 because we also take into consideration people working in after school clubs and childminders as well. So childminders in Scotland, I'm not sure if it's the same in England, they're eligible to provide funded hours for children. So they're classed as part of the early learning and childcare segment.
Yeah, no, it's same over here, but we're lucky in Twinkle, England, that we've got a Twinkle childminders section as well. She's called Alicia, the manager, and she's great. So she helps us with them as well. It's early years is so big, isn't it? Like it's just huge, even in one country, let alone going everywhere else. So on that lovely note, I think I've spoken on previous episodes quite extensively about how you become an early years practitioner or teacher in England. But is it the same for Scotland or is it very different? How does it work?
So in Scotland, there's a few ways that you can do it. So you can start with doing a national certificate in early education and childcare, and that would be a 1-year course, and that would allow you to then go into a HNC, which is like a higher national certificate. Through that, you would be able to go on placements into a nursery setting, maybe be 2 times a week. And then you would have block weeks as well. So you maybe go in every term, you would maybe go in for a week. And that is more of you're in the classroom more and a wee bit of placement. And then there's a modern apprenticeship route, which I took, which is when you learn on the job, and that's when you're working full time in a nursery environment and doing your qualification on the side at home pretty much. And then somebody would maybe come out and see you every month or so, and you're working towards a SVQ, and that will then qualify you to be working with children. And there's also ways where you can do a foundation apprenticeship. I don't know if you do that within England. So when you're doing a placement whilst you're at school, and you can go in for once a week, and that's a good stepping stone to go into either the HNC or the modern apprenticeship. And then there's also people that go straight from the degree, so they would maybe go and do a degree in childhood practice like I did, and then go into a nursery setting with a degree qualification. And that is becoming quite a big thing in Scotland, to have a degree. They're kind of pushing towards that a lot of practitioners have a degree level. So if you're up in the senior, so if you're a manager or a deputy or a senior early years practitioner, they're wanting you to have a degree level qualification.
Right. Is that the same for schools as well as private ones as well then? Or?
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely pushed more in schools,
right,
I'd say, than the private, but private is definitely your managers and your
room leaders and things.
Yes, they want them to be doing a degree level qualification, and there's different ways to do that as well. So I did mine through a university, whereas some people go and do a class once a week, and it's like an SVQ level 9, which is like,
Yeah.
yes, they will go and do that, and it'll maybe take a longer period of time to do it. So there's so many different ways to work in early years in Scotland. But whatever you do, it's a fantastic job to be working in.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? And I think that's kind of the beauty of wherever you are, however you train, there's different ways that suit you. It can be an SVQ, it can be a degree, it can be an apprenticeship. Like there are so many different ways to get in, because I think people, especially in teaching, are worried like, oh, you've got to have a certain, if you're teaching, you've got to have a certain amount of, quote unquote intelligence, which,
Yeah.
is a very open word anyway. And it's actually, well, what does that even mean actually? So there are different levels in which you can access no matter what.
Totally. And that's the thing when you're saying that, because with the HNC, they tend to say you need to have like three to five subjects from your high school years. And then they say like you need English and higher English and stuff like that. But then with the SVQ, like I know many people who left school early, left at 16, and then went straight into that, and then have become
incredible
managers. Yeah, become managers,
exactly.
or like people who are really high up in different councils. So it just shows different people learn in different ways, and I think that's what's so great about it, that there's so many different avenues that you can do it to give that flexibility.
And that's what we should be teaching our children, right? That's exactly why we go into early years.
Exactly.
Amen. I'm loving it. It's like a little church service of early years. I'm loving it. It's great. But the next big one that people also might not know that might be different is the curriculum. Now, Scotland have their own early years curriculum, their own national curriculum.
Yes.
So tell us more about that. What does a Scottish early years curriculum look like?
Well, that's a bit of can of worms.
Right.
So when you say that though, that is so interesting to say, because I think sometimes people in England forget that our curriculum is different. So obviously yours is the EYFS.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do any of your EYFS, although these things are similar.
Yeah,
they probably have aspects that overlap. It's totally different. So in Scotland we have the curriculum for excellence, which is, I'd say, the main curriculum. So the curriculum for excellence is from 3 until 18-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it covers a lot of aspects, but I think what is interesting about this curriculum is it kind of shows you the depth and breadth you can go into as you go across different stages of your schooling career. So it means if there's children who are quite advanced, they may be looking at maybe higher up levels of outcomes, and whereas if there's some are struggling a little bit at school, they can dip into more simple outcomes, which is, I think, really interesting. So that has 8 curriculum areas, and we talk a lot about, like I said, providing depth and breadth and a lot of cross-curricular learning. So although maybe you're doing planting and growing outside.
My favourite subject.
Yes, I love it too. I love planting. Maybe you're doing some health and wellbeing in that, but there's also the mathematics and stuff like that. So a lot of cross-curricular learning, which is fantastic, and lots of in the moment planning in Scottish early years, I'd say, and it's kind of starting to go in towards schooling, which has been very interesting. And then we also have another curriculum guidance, which is pre-birth to 3. So there's a big focus on before the child is even born, how important that is.
Pre-birth. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so how significant that is in a child's development, having that start in their life from when they're growing. So yeah, it's really so interesting. Exciting. It's so interesting. Lots of reading that people could do on that, which is great. And that's more of, I'd say that's a bit more simplistic and talking more about the interactions you're having with children at a very young age, creating positive relationships and providing responsive care. So there's 4 areas within that you try to cover for pre-birth to 3. And then also there's overarching frameworks and guidance that Scotland covers. It has actually been recognised worldwide. That's really important. So we have I say new, but it's not even that new anymore, guidance called Realising Ambition. So that's a framework which kind of supports early years educators in bettering their practice and really talking about children being their self, and that also covers from birth and beyond. So a lot of depth and breadth into learning there as well, and we also have lots of self-evaluation frameworks, so lots of paperwork going on behind the scenes. But I'd say the main curriculum is Curriculum for Excellence, with the pre-birth to 3 for the little ones. But I could talk about it forever, but there's so much information, so...
But it's so interesting. And as you're talking, I'm looking through the pre-birth now, and I'll put all of the links as well in the episode notes so our listeners can look as well. And there's loads of stuff on Twinkle that you've made. But I find the whole pre-birth bit really, really interesting. And I've not heard any other country actually acknowledge that in their curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So the first thing that really sticks out for me in terms of this pre-birth part is the 4 key principles. And so there are 4 things that you outline in Scotland from pre-birth. Number 1, rights of the child.
Exactly.
Like from pre-birth, rights of the child. That is so important.
Yeah, and that's the kind of... When you're saying rights of a child in Scotland, we talk a lot about Gurfect. Is that something you talk about in England?
I've not even heard of it. Please elaborate.
So Gurfect is getting it right for every child. So we have wellbeing indicators which are within that, which go in a lot of care plans when a child starts at a nursery. And wellbeing indicators is called Shána, so it's like an acronym. So how can we keep a child safe? How can we help them be healthy, nurtured, included, all those kind of things. And in Scotland, we're kind of really passionate about getting it right for the child from
conception.
From conception, yeah, and giving them the best start in life. And I think that's something really significant in our curriculum, because we really want to ensure that every young person in Scotland is able to reach their full potential. So it's a kind of a holistic approach. It's about working in collaboration with the children and their families to ensure we, like I said before, give them the best start in their life.
It's great. I love it.
And that is like a government policy as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's really, really significant in Scottish education.
I think what also makes it so unique and significant is the fact that within that whole pre-birth curriculum, you're also taking care of the birth mother and including her in the importance of a child. Because like you say, you know, a baby in the womb, there are so many things. If we look after the mother, you look after the child.
Yes.
And it's going beyond, it's really looking at that, like you say, that holistic view of really where the child is and has come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not seen another curriculum do that. That's really fascinating.
And I think when you say that, something I was looking at was the CPD stuff that was on offer at Twinkle, and they talk a lot about partnerships with parents, but I think that is something that Scotland is really getting it right with. And I think having those health visitors involved from that very early stages, and then throughout their life at different steps in their life, I think it really helps to have that continuity and provide a lot of important progression. And yes, it's really, really interesting.
It's great. I feel like not just England, but a lot of countries could learn from Scotland in that way. Like, you're really paving the way for something there. That's really impressive. Big thumbs up from me. Or I'm a big fan.
I'll pat myself on the back for that one.
You do that. Take all the credit, Fiona. It's all you, babes. It's all you.
That's it.
So in terms of the 3 to 12 curriculum, obviously, is it broken down into kind of, we call it key stages. Do you break it down like there as well, or?
Well, there is ways of breaking it down, yes. So like we have like different stage levels. So within Scotland, we have like early level, which is preschool to primary 1. Then we have first level, which is primary 1 to the end of primary 4. Then we have second level, which is primary 4 to the end of primary 7. And then third and fourth goes into S1, S3. And then gets to 4th level, it kind of goes beyond, and then that's when you start doing your SVQs and all those higher up levels of qualifications. So it's broken down in different level stages, yeah.
Yeah, it's reminding me of like infant school, middle school, high school that used to
Yeah.
be in England. Is it kind of a similar structure or?
Well, it's kind of, in Scotland we have nurseries, and then we have primary schools, which is from 5 until 12, and then we have
Okay.
secondary schools, which is 12 until 18, or when you want to leave. So some children will leave at 15. They're able to leave then.
Really?
Yeah, they're able to leave then and then go on to do a job or go into maybe a college or,
Yeah.
like I said, like an SVQ apprenticeship,
Yeah.
learning on the job experience. So
Oh wow, that's
it's a
really
few
cool.
different avenues for
Yeah.
advanced learning after leaving school.
And in terms of the curriculum areas, you said you have 8. In England, we've got 7 areas of learning for early years. What are your 8?
So we have,
It's not a test or anything.
I'm like, please tell me I remember all those. Health and Wellbeing, Literacy and English, Numeracy and Mathematics. Then we have Social Studies, Science. What else is there? Religious, Moral and Philosophical Studies,
Ooh.
Expressive Arts,
Yeah.
and Technology.
Oh wow. Okay. So they're very similar to
Mhm.
what we've got. I think let me think.
Yeah.
So for us it's 3 prime areas. We've got communication and language, physical development, and personal, social, and emotional development. Actually, I didn't hear you say physical. Is that part of?
That's within Health and Wellbeing.
Oh, of course it is. There you go. And then literacy, maths, understanding of the world, and expressive arts and design. So our understanding of the world is kind of like like you have humanities, like your
Yeah.
science, your history, your geography.
When I've looked at your stuff on Twinkle, I quite liked that, the name of that. I thought that was really interesting, because when you think about it, it is all about understanding the world.
It is, isn't it? And there's so many different aspects. So those 8 areas, do they carry up through primary and secondary as well?
Yes.
That's really interesting because for early years over here, we just have those 7 areas in early years. As soon as they get to primary, it's literacy, maths, geography, history,
Right.
French. Like it's completely
So
different.
more like topical.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's a completely different curriculum.
When they would go to high school, they would maybe be doing geography and, like you're saying, science and art classes, but they would still be within the curriculum.
Yeah, that area. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. But that's good because it's showing the connection. I do think that the way we do it in England is a little bit disjointed because it's just that flow of going from the 7 areas to the different subjects is just a little bit, off. Whereas the way you've done it in Scotland is it is from 3 upwards. And if you break it down as you get older, that's fine, but they still relate to those initial 8 areas, which I think is just clearer for us, clearer for the children, clearer for parents as well.
Yeah, I think it like provides a kind of, in a way, it supports with transitions because they're not getting a fright
Yes.
with what they're like going into a whole new way of learning.
Right.
Because it kind of the curriculum follows the child, which is really interesting. And then we also have the 4 capacities that are like main areas that we want to cover from the experiences and outcomes. So we want to help children to become successful learners, confident individuals, effective contributors, and responsible citizens. So there's a lot going on within the curriculum, and I think it's just about educators being able to break it down into manageable chunks for children to be able to learn at their own pace.
Do you know, I love what you just said about the curriculum follows the child. Ugh.
Yes.
It should totally be that way. Not a child follows the curriculum.
Mhm.
The curriculum follows the child. Make a t-shirt, Fiona, sell them on Vinted. Done.
That'd be quite a good second income.
I wouldn't doubt it. Like my friends do Vinted. It's looking good. It's looking great. Anyway, going off topic. That's my fault. Curriculum, super interesting. So now that we kind of have an idea of what, you follow in terms of framework and things like that, what does it look like in an early years setting? Like what does a typical day look like? How is it broken up? Like what happens?
Well, in our early years setting in Scotland, it's very free flow. I'm not sure if it's like that in England yet, but in Scotland it's very free flow play. We've moved away from like a strict structure of you come into the setting, you do a welcome time, you maybe do group times or like all together times, because I think as a country we felt that was kind of limiting children's ways of learning and exploring, and it was maybe kind of stifling the way that they learned. So it's a lot of free play. You would come into your setting, and usually most settings are open from 8 till 6.
Oh, wow. Even school ones?
Yes, so in my school setting, we opened 8 till 6. So within Scotland, there has been more funded hours provided. So their children are entitled to 1,143 hours of childcare.
What?
All children from the age of 3 are provided these funded hours, which is like 30 hours a week.
All right. I thought you meant a week. I was like, 1,000 hours a week? You what?
So all children have funded hours, so they're not paying for childcare when they're 3 and above. And then there's some children who are 2 who maybe are eligible through certain circumstances that they get hours as well. So a lot of hours for children to be in that nursery setting.
Which is how it should be. I mean, I'm sure if you've seen on the news recently what's been going on in England with the budget and the whole childcare, quote unquote free, because the government are calling it free childcare, that they are improving upon and making more accessible to more families. But it's not free because it's coming out of other areas. They're not funding that. It's coming out of nursery budgets still, etc. It's a big debate.
Yes, I've seen a lot of discussion around budgeting, and it looks very complex and hard to understand.
And let's just say England is at the bottom of the pile for funding for early years childcare hours, whatever, in all 4 of the UK countries. And I think Scotland is probably at the top. I could be wrong, but
I think you're probably right. I know that Ireland have been getting some new stuff with their schools about funding for books and things, which has been really great to see. But I think Scotland is kind of
leading the way, babe.
Leading the way with early years, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of settings opened 8 till 6, private ones as well, private nurseries. Some of them will maybe be open from 7 o'clock until maybe 7 till 7, but it's kind of adaptable hours. So these practitioners aren't obviously working all these hours.
No,
that's a lot.
Shift work.
Yeah, shift work. And there is some settings that still do school hours, but very few, I'd say, in Scotland are doing that. Most now with the new 1140 rollout have been open 8 till 6. So 8 till 6, so some children will come in at 8 o'clock on the dot, and then they'll be able to go and play with whatever they want. We'll have different areas set up. I'm sure you have it too.
Yeah.
Lots of free flow and transferring from different areas, and we will provide a kind of morning snack which is free flow as well, so it'll probably be left out for an hour, and children can come and go and have snack when they want, and then we have more free flow play, and then lunchtime, and then more play, and then there'll be another snack, and then that will be maybe a substantial snack so that means that children who maybe don't get as much to eat in their home environment, they're having something big and filling before they go home.
Are your snacks funded?
Yes.
See, this is what I mean.
Or it'll come out of the budget.
But it's budgeted at least.
Yeah, it's budgeted. I can't quite remember if it's funded snack.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that because there's so many different things to remember.
Yeah.
And within the kind of the normal day, it would be more that the educators will be kind of observing the children in their play and supporting and scaffolding different types of learning through play. So it's more that you're observing the child and creating learning intentions and success criteria to support through their interest, rather than you being like, wee Jimmy's not doing any writing, he needs to focus on sitting at a table and doing writing. It's how can we see ways of providing gross motor and fine motor experiences for Jimmy when all he wants to do is play outside. So thinking about providing paintbrushes and big buckets of water and allowing him to explore outdoors and learn that way.
Yeah.
So
again, bringing the curriculum to the child rather than forcing the child into the curriculum and things like that. It's brilliant.
Exactly. It's a very effective way of recording children's learning, I feel. And although I think it's maybe taken some people a long time to adapt to this way of thinking, because the curriculum wasn't always this way, I think we would never do
You'd never go back.
anything else now, because you can really see how impactful it is on children's learning, and you can see the areas that they cover in a lot more depth.
I mean, I don't want to book my ticket and move to Scotland already, but I am very close to the border. Like, I live near the Lake District. It wouldn't take that much for me to move over. I'm not going to lie. Very cool, very cool. I'm wondering, you know, about shift work, because a couple of other countries do 7 till 7, 8 till 6 kind of hours, and they too have kind of shift work in terms of practitioners and teachers. How do you manage that? How do you work together and keep on top of planning, observations and things like that, having to, say, 2 teachers responsible for the same class? How do you keep on top of that? How does it work?
So within a nursery environment, we kind of have a kind of key worker approach at the moment. There has been discussion around all of that, but it would be like a key worker is responsible for a certain amount of children. So if you worked full time, which was like 35 hours, 40 hours a week, you would maybe have 10 children that you're responsible for. And the way a manager would maybe divvy it up is they would, if they worked full time, they would have children across different days. So that meant they were able to see children at different days. And then part-time people, maybe if they're working on just a Monday and Tuesday, they would only have children that come on a Monday and Tuesday, things like that. But the managers will create kind of a timetable for staff, and it would maybe be 1 week you're working an early shift, and then the next week you're working the late shift.
Oh, right. So it can change even then. You don't get set shifts. You can...
I think it depends on your setting and what works best for you. So maybe if you've got children and you need to drop
That's really
them off to
flexible.
school, I think it's more like if you have the children, then you could maybe do the 10 till 6, and then maybe your partner's picking them up after. Or maybe some people will only work 9 till 5. They do have models like that. And then there's also some people that maybe work 4 days, but they're longer days. Whereas then there's people that work 5 days and it's shorter days across.
That's really flexible for the practitioners as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I think it can be difficult for managers in terms of providing the flexibility for everyone. But
yeah, of course. But at least there's something in place that supports managers to be able to at least try.
Yes, and I think that was a big thing when they provided this model of, because when I started in the school nursery, it was just 9 till 3, and then about 2 or 3 years in, they moved to the extended hours, and the government was like, we need to be able to provide flexibility for the people who are working in these settings, because then if they do have younger children who don't get funded hours, or children in after school, you need to think about in consideration of how much they're spending on their own childcare.
Yeah. Really interesting. I love it. I could talk about this for hours, but this is very cool. Very, very cool. Okay. Well, before we get on to a fun game at the end, I want to ask you, and this is going to be a hard one for you because it sounds like heaven in Scotland, I'll be honest. What is your favourite thing about working in early years in Scotland?
Well, something that I've not really discussed yet because I was saving it for this question is the outdoor play. So I'd say that in Scotland, we are really aware of the benefits of high quality outdoor play and providing physical and mental development and supporting that in an outdoor environment. So we will try and get outside as much as we can, spend as much time outdoors, and talk about bringing the inside out. And like I was discussing about how some children maybe want to learn mark making outside, how can we provide these experiences outside as well? So I love outdoor play. I feel like some children, you can just see how much they thrive in that environment.
Yes.
And I think, to be honest, it should continue more and more in a school setting. And I know that's something that's being worked on, but I think a lot of children in school should be able to get outside more than they do.
Oh, I'm so with you. And you know what's also like a kick up the bum for me? One of my bugbears about going outside, because I loved it, but also I hate winter. Like, me and cold just do not get on.
Oh, I'm the same.
But you are in Scotland, right? And Scotland, look, as beautiful as Scotland is, you don't get a lot of sunshine. It is a lot of rain and snow, but that's beautiful in its own. However, it's cold. and I'm not great with that. But if you guys in Scotland can do outdoor play all year round, and it's such a big thing for you guys anyway, then there's no excuse. There's no excuse for me.
And I think that's the thing. It's about having the appropriate clothing. And you talk to children about that, about them having the appropriate clothing for going outside. That staff need to be modelling that as well.
Right. There's so much we could learn from you.
If we're wearing the appropriate clothing, then that might encourage them to do it as well. So yes, like we had said, I love planting and growing. I love growing stuff outside with the children. And that's funny that you said that about the weather in Scotland, because as soon as a peak of sun comes out, we're like, sunglasses on, shorts on. Make the most of this while we can.
Do it. I love it. It's so funny. I think that's a very British thing as well, isn't it? Maybe not just in Scotland. It's like as soon as the little bit of sun's out, all the men decide to wear the shorts. And you're like, guys, calm down. We're not in Benidorm, for goodness sake. But you know what? It is. It is for us. And
it is for us.
We love
it. You never know how long it'll last. You've got to take these moments.
I adore it. It's so funny. It's brilliant. Oh, it's been so fun. Thank you. Are you ready for some more fun to end the episode?
Go for it.
Yes, you are. I knew you were that girl. Okay, great. So what I do with all of my guests at the end of a show is we just play a little game just to, keep it light and fun. Although this is a pretty cool episode. And we do a teacher version of Would You Rather. And because we're going around the world and you're from Scotland and representing your country, we're going to try and make it more tailored to you. So are you ready for these hard-hitting questions?
Okay, go for it.
She's got it. She's done it. Okay, so first one's always the same. Just to get you in there, ease you in. Would you rather tea or coffee?
Well, I'd say coffee.
Oh.
But it has to be like a fancy coffee.
Like from Starbucks?
I'm not just having a black coffee. No, not a black coffee. I like a latte.
Yes.
Or mocha, something like that.
Particular syrup?
Yes, syrup? I like vanilla or caramel syrup.
Yes, that's my jam too.
Got myself an espresso for Christmas. And I have been loving life with my Nespresso. Never used to drink coffee until maybe like 5 years ago. Now I have to have it. A wee treat. Whereas my partner, he is obsessed with tea. He probably has like 15 cups of tea a day.
Oh, whoa, that is an obsession.
He is obsessed with tea.
Any particular, or it's just like proper builder's tea?
Oh, he likes a builder's tea, yeah, very milky.
Oh.
Or like, I like to call it a baby tea, where it's like really, really, really milky.
Oh no, he's one of those. Oh
yeah.
No. Oh,
like
I'm sorry.
That makes it good.
Yeah, debatable.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, see, I always used to be a tea girl. It was always just a cup of tea, and coffee for me used to be like too much, like too much caffeine. I was buzzing. But now I'm older. I've just recently turned 30. And yes, that is old to me, listeners, before you even come for me. I can't go without coffee now. I have a morning, and I only have one. It's my morning coffee, and it's lovely, and it's like vanilla flavored. But I feel like I've switched all of a sudden, like in my old age, like I'm now a coffee girl.
Well, that's like what happened to me. I switched, and then I would be getting like the wee sachets that were like a little latte, and I would do them, and then I was like, kind of really want an espresso machine. They look amazing. And that was my treat, and I'm on about 3 a day.
Oh, but that's not bad actually. That's I've heard worse. Don't worry about it. That's good.
But it's an enjoyable experience, I have to say,
isn't it? And there's nothing better than in the summer getting an iced latte.
Yes,
right. You just sun's out, iced latte, done.
And then I can do that with my Nespresso machine at home.
I'm coming to yours. That sounds fabulous. Okay, second question, and this is, oh my god, this is so hard. I don't know how you're going to answer this one. Would you rather a Tunnock's tea cake or shortbread? What are you going to choose?
This is a hard one for me because I have a sweet tooth, like the worst sweet tooth ever. So I do love a bit of shortbread, but there's something about a Tunnock's tea cake. See that marshmallow in the middle?
Oh, stop.
It's like nothing else, is it?
It really isn't. I really want one. But also, no one does shortbread better than Scotland, Fiona. Scottish shortbread is just chef's kiss.
So good. Have you ever had any tablet from Scotland?
No, what is that?
That's it's kind of like fudge. in a way. You need to get yourself some Scottish tablet.
Oh, you know what? I just need to move to Scotland. What am I doing here? Great early years, great food. Like, what is happening? Okay. Oh, I don't know if I can pick. Okay, so you're defo going for tonics because they're.
Yes. What are you going for?
I don't know. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go for shortbread because then when we have lunch together, we can both have both and it'll be fine. So
yeah, we can have a bit of each.
Right?
Perfect.
Oh my God, a Scottish tea with tonics and... Okay, you know what? I'm going to the shops after this. I need to get some tonics and shortbread. Like, it just needs to happen. Okay, last but not least, would you rather Scottish whiskey or iron brew? Oh, classic Scottish drink
This
that.
is difficult for me because, to be honest, I don't really like either of them.
That's so funny.
I'm not the biggest drinker, to be honest, so I think I'll pick iron brew. Although it's really sweet and a particular taste,
Yes.
I think I'd rather that over the whiskey because whiskey is like, knock your socks off.
But that's why I love it. Like, I'm not a big drinker either, but then as soon as I have some whiskey, I'm like, oh yes,
It warms the soul,
isn't it? Like, you can feel it. Like, you become a radiator. Like, it's just great, especially like in the winter when it's miserable outside and you're feeling a bit rough. Just a little whiskey, and everything's all right.
But we don't condone drinking in a.
Oh no. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Disclaimer. Yeah, please drink responsibly, etc., etc. But yeah, darn, I love that whiskey and iron brew. I was saying to you earlier, it's very neon. It's the color. It just makes me wonder what animal did it squeeze that color out of? What plant did that come from?
And there was, I don't know if you heard a couple of years ago, it must have been a while ago, the big uproar in Scotland when they changed the recipe.
Yes, I remember. Have you recovered, or is the country just still?
Well, my boyfriend, he's not recovered. He actually has some of the secret recipe left. For emergency occasions.
Oh my goodness, what a rebel. I'm so funny.
I'm like, you probably shouldn't drink that now.
It might be nuclear. Be careful. Oh, that's so funny. I love it. Well, mate, we've got a party between us. Like, whiskey, iron brew, tonics, tea, cake, shortbread, done. What a day.
Perfect. With a wee cup of coffee and a wee tea on the side.
There you go. Dan, what more do you need in life? I'm obsessed. I love it. Oh, it's been so fun chatting to you today, Fiona. Thank you so much for coming and educating us about what it's like to be an early years educator in Scotland. If our wonderful listeners want to learn more, tell us where we can find you, what other bits you've got going on. Just tell us all about it.
Well, so we are on most of the social medias. I'd say that we're most active on our Facebook group, which is Twinkle Scotland ELC, and on our Instagram, which is also Twinkle Scotland ELC, if you search them. And we have a Twitter account, which is ELC Twinkle. And we're on TikTok as well. And we also have a YouTube channel, which has a few outdoor learning videos on that, if you want to look at some of them, which is more of a working project with that one. Making videos on YouTube is not easy, guys.
I haven't even started to do that. I bow down to you. YouTube is a whole new world. Like,
it definitely is. And if you want to find anything on Scotland on Twinkle, I think if you just search in the search bar Twinkle Scotland ELC, you'll get over to our landing page and you can see some of our Scottish things. And we are currently working on our new play product. So this is been a big project.
It's your baby, isn't it? It's totally your baby.
It is our baby. So the whole point in our product is similar to what I've been discussing, but have play at the heart of the child's learning, and then you can add the curriculum as the play and learning develops. So this product will be able to be used internationally, which is very exciting for us, and in a way we feel that it's kind of showing what you said, that Scotland is, in our opinion, leading the way through play.
My opinion too, babes.
But Australia and New Zealand and Scandinavian countries, they are
Yeah.
doing very well too. But
are.
we feel like there's a gap that needs to be filled of supporting educators and playful learning. So we're really excited about that. So if you search Play on Twinkle, or Twinkle Play on Facebook, we've got a Facebook group for that.
Amazing. I'm going to put all of the links to all of that as well in the episode, so they can just click off, they go straight to all those Facebook groups, etc. So it's
Perfect.
wonderful. Oh, it's been a
Thank you
delight.
so much for
Thank you.
having me, and it's been
No,
lovely
thank you.
chatting to you.
It really has for you as well. And I hope we get to speak together soon.
Hopefully, that'd be great, and work on some stuff together.
Yes, and I'm just gonna come and bug you in Scotland, just so you know. If you just hear a knock at the door, it'll be me. With shortbread, so it's fine.
Oh, that's fine then.
There you go.
Great.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, there we have it. I am sold. I'm completely sold. I am packing up my things and I'm moving to Scotland. Like, how cool does it sound? Now, of course, every country will have its pros and cons and, you know, things that don't work quite so well. But at the minute, I'm not hearing too many bad things about what Scotland are doing. I don't know about you. If you are a practitioner in Scotland and you want to tell us more, get in touch. I would love to know what it's like to work in another earlier setting in another country. And it's been marvellous so far. I feel like I've gone on a world adventure from my office chair. Very exciting, very cheap too. Now, we're coming to the end of this mini-series now. We are going to talk to the wonderful Amy from Twinkle Northern Ireland next time, and then we're going to finish off with our wonderful friends in the United Arab Emirates with Sumaya. And then that'll be it, back to the normal schedule. Lots of CPD stuff coming, lots of things to help you with what's coming up in the summer, transition, etc., etc. So I'm looking forward to the episodes that are coming, and also we might be doing a little brand update, you know, updating the episode colours, the artwork. I mean, we've been going over a year now and we've got 10,000 downloads. So I thought it was time for a bit of a refresh. So keep your eyes peeled, see if you see anything different. And until the next time, have a great day. Bye.
So that's it from today's episode. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would like to get involved or would like to know more, come and find us on our social media sites. We have a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and TikTok account. All of the details will be in the description. And whatever you're doing, I hope you have a great day today.